Welcome to my session on XLOOKUP for Excel Weekend 7. So let me introduce myself. My name is Wyn Hopkins. I'm an Excel MVP. I've been one for 5 years now. I was an ex-accountant. I'm now a full-time Excel and Power BI developer and trainer in Perth, Western Australia, famous for its beaches and the cute little quokka animal that lives on the island just off the coast. Okay. Let's talk XLOOKUP. Why did we need XLOOKUP? What does it do? What was wrong with VLOOKUP and index match? Well, I'll show you how it works if you're not familiar with it, and a few little clever, quirky things you can do with XLOOKUP as well. So I've got a table here of deadly things you might find in Australia. Let's take a look at XLOOKUP to start with. So if I pick the box jellyfish, and I've just named this cell as deadly Dropdown, it's up here, okay, in the name manager box. You don't have to do this, but this is the way I like to do these sorts of things. Equals XLOOKUP, okay? I'm going to click on this cell, comma, put a few spaces in. I like putting spaces in my formulas. Not everybody tells you, or you don't realize that you can put spaces in. I'm then going to highlight this little column here. And because it's a table, you get the proper naming, which is great. Again, it works if you haven't got the proper naming. See if I go a bit further, you go C8 to C19. So I'm going for the full table, comma, a couple of little spaces. I'm just in the habit of doing that these days. And what do I want to bring back? I want to bring back this column, so I can either highlight it all, or with a table, I can just click on the heading there. Okay, and that's it. Close the bracket. I'm looking up box jellyfish in that creature column and bring back the located column. Absolutely simple. Okay, press enter and the box jellyfish is found in the north. And then if I change this to something else, like the one underneath it, the eastern brown snake, that's found in the east. Beautiful, super simple. You can also look to the left. So all I have to do is change my formula. I'm still doing the first two bits, okay? Look up deadly drop down in that column. And then all I do is, rather than referring to this column here, I'm going to refer to this column. And actually, rather than clicking on that little black arrow there on the top, I'm going to click in any cell and do Control Spacebar. Does the same thing, highlights a whole column in a table. Okay. So it looks to the left as well. So the eastern brown snake is number 4. So it looks right, looks left, no counting columns. All works beautifully, and that is the magic of XLOOKUP, right? It's super simple. Look, what if we bring up a VLOOKUP? Okay, what was so wrong with VLOOKUPs? Equals VLOOKUP. Look that up, comma. With VLOOKUP, you'd have to highlight both the column you're looking in and all the columns to the right, where you want to maybe bring a column back from. Then you'd have to do a comma, then you have to count the columns. I want to bring back the second column. And then you press enter, okay, and you say NA. Oh, why is that? Okay, let me change this. Maybe let's pick the first one in the list. Oh, that's working. Inland Taipan. Okay. That one's working. Geographer. Okay. Oh, let me try the stonefish down at the bottom of the list. Oh, that one's working. West and south. Oh, but is it? Stonefish. West stroke north, but this says west stroke south. So those of you with a keen eye will have seen I forgot to put the comma 0 on the end of the VLOOKUP, and therefore it was doing a nearest match and actually giving me the wrong result. So that was one of the problems, well, two of the problems together there. Number one, hard coding in that 2, and the other problem was actually if you forget to put the comma 0 or the comma false on the end, you can actually get the wrong result and not realize. So the beauty of XLOOKUP is it defaults to an exact match. So equals XLOOKUP, stonefish, okay, comma, in this column, comma, bring back whatever's in the located column. No need for comma 0, comma false, or anything like that. Okay, beautiful. An XLOOKUP also replaces HLOOKUP. So HLOOKUP was for doing horizontal lookups. So I can do equals XLOOKUP. I want to look up, and it's just hidden behind my cell here, but I want to look up what's in cell K8, which is the word March, okay, in this little list. So it's going to find March here, comma, and bring me back the result. And again, I just press, bring me back the result. And just press enter, 300, which is the value for March. Okay, it's just looking up, if I go up to the formula here, it's looking up March in that first row, brings back 300. Super simple, awesome. Okay, right. The other nice thing about XLOOKUP is, let's say I change this to stone fishes, for whatever reason, you get an NA, okay, the traditional NA when you don't find a match. And then historically, you'd have to wrap things inside an if error function. So if error, but you don't have to do that with XLOOKUP, okay, you don't have to do it. There's a built-in option. So comma before the last bracket, if not found, right, missing or something like that. Beautiful. All wrapped inside one function. Yeah. So much simpler than anything else we've had before. Then you can start to do some funky stuff with XLOOKUP, because not only does it return, let me just fix this up, not only does it return the contents of the corresponding cell, actually in the background it's returning the cell address. So if I wrap up, so this is bringing back this cell here, which is actually cell D16. Okay, so you can wrap this in a cell address. Okay, so it's going off, finding the result. It's actually bringing you back a range, and then by default it sort of spits out the result. Now that opens up some really interesting possibilities. Okay, you can do some quite funky stuff now. So let me show you two sort of, I think, are really nice little features with this. So what we'll do is we have here a little lookup formula going to this column called deadly names. That deadly names is on another sheet where I've got some images and this named range called deadly names. Okay, so all it's doing is basically looking up that cell. So if I do that cell ref thing here, so cell address, comma, and then get from there, sorry, I need to get just knocked off the XLOOKUP there, okay, and put a bracket on the end. So that's actually bringing back the address at E6, E7, E8, it's just looking it up from that other page, and I can then wrap that inside a hyperlink function. You have to do a double quote, hash double quote, and that's the address. And then on the end, you give it a friendly name such as link, okay, or whatever you want. And you press enter. And now I've got a hyperlink to that other page. So if I click on, say, the saltwater crocodile link, it jumps me to the picture of the saltwater crocodile. That's pretty cool. If I click on the link for the stonefish, there we go. That's one pretty ugly fish, okay? So wrapping a hyperlink around an XLOOKUP result could actually give you a navigation tip to jump to certain places. Pretty nifty. Okay, let's take this one step further. I want to have a switchable image pop up. So if I pick stonefish from this drop down, I want a picture of a stonefish. If I pick coastal taipan, I want the picture to change to that. So here's the approach. I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to copy this cell. Make sure the image fits inside the cell. Okay. So I'm going to copy that image, come over here, right click, paste special, linked picture. Right. That's the trick. Linked picture. That's trick number one. Okay. So then what you can do is you can say, right, if I do an XLOOKUP for the stonefish, my deadly drop down, okay, over here in the list of deadly names, okay, if I go down the bottom, the formula will change to deadly names. comma. And if I scroll back up, I've already named this column deadly images. So I could just type it in up here, deadly images, or I could highlight it again. That's it. I'm looking up the image. And it comes back as a 0 because there isn't actually anything in those cells. So where this image is, there's nothing behind this. If I put the name Wyn in there, in that cell, then my formula should, oh no, for stonefish, sorry, if I change this to Taipan right at the top, there you go, it says Wyn because that's in that cell, right? But there's nothing actually in these cells. Okay, what I do is I need to turn this into a named formula. So I'm copying it, Control C, formula, define name, call it something like, you know, my deadly image. That'll do. And you put that formula in here. Much easier if you use named ranges when you're doing this. Okay, so there's my formula. Click OK. Then I can just test that out. So equals my deadly image. Okay, it's still working, still bringing me back to 0. But what you can do with that is this bit. This is the clever bit. You click on your image, and up here in the formula bar, you change it to my deadly image. Okay, and now check this out. I change this to box jellyfish. The image changes. Okay, change this to stonefish. Change this to the saltwater crocodile. You know, that's pretty nifty use of XLOOKUP. Make it a named range. You can use that named range inside your image. Okay, a linked image. Pretty cool. Okay, let me show you a few more things. So, I'm a massive fan of XLOOKUP because in May 2016, back on Excel user voice, I went and posted an idea about having this thing called GETMATCH, where we looked up something in a row or a column and we brought a row or column back and there was an optional no match. And, you know, 4 years later, we've actually got XLOOKUP, a much better name with much more features. But I'm glad that I had a little piece in sort of seeding this idea. So, you know, thank you to everybody who voted for this, because future generations will thank us all for encouraging Microsoft to build this. An awesome work from the Excel team who developed this. Okay, you know, the syntax of XLOOKUP is there's a lookup value, a column, a row, a result if not found. Okay, so you can look up a column or a row, return a column or a row. So that's your VLOOKUP versus HLOOKUP. Okay, there's a result if not found, so you no longer need if error. So that's the main stuff I've shown you already. And then we've got a couple of other options. You can do a nearest match or a search bottom to top rather than top to bottom. So let's see those in action. Okay, so over here, let's focus on this table. We've got some scores. Lisa's got 20 points, Jackie's got 30. I want to find the person with a score nearest to 25. Okay, so the next lowest would be Lisa, the next highest would be Jackie. And those are the true results I've got using XLOOKUP. And all you have to do, this is exactly the same as the XLOOKUP formula we've seen so far. So let me click in the top here. We are looking at cell F8, which is the target score. Look in the score column, bring back the name, you know, exactly as we've done before. The only difference is there's an extra little item after here, which is the -1. This is so the first bit is the if not found. And then the second bit is the match mode. Okay. So if I go in here for match mode, 0 is exact, which is the default, so you don't have to put it in. If you want to do it next smaller, -1, next bigger, +1. And we don't have time to talk about the wildcard one today, but that's another option as well. So -1, okay, sorry, come out of that. And then this one is the positive one. And the great thing is you can actually mix up this list any way you want. So this is totally muddled up now, but it still works. Still gives you the same result, which is awesome. Okay, so you don't even have to have this list sorted to get the next nearest value to this, which is just incredibly clever. Okay. So then let's look at this bottom up option, okay, and top down. So if I do an XLOOKUP for the word banana, okay, in this little table, and I bring back the day, so it's going to find banana and say Monday, okay, press enter, Monday, beautiful. Let me just do the same thing again, XLOOKUP banana, comma. This time I'm going to click in this table and press Control Spacebar, does the same thing, okay, comma, bring back the day, comma, ignore the if not found, match mode, ignore that, search mode, okay, search mode is first to last, last to first. So by default, it's top to bottom, first to last. We're going to go for the -1 option. Close the bracket, and then Wednesday, which is, if I look from the bottom, hits banana, gives you Wednesday. That can be really useful. It was really virtually, impossible with anything other than really complicated formulas in the past. Right, let's talk multiple outputs. So we can do this. We could say equals XLOOKUP Betty and or ampersand Brent, okay, in this and this column, comma, and bring me back whatever's in output 1. So you can do multi-criteria matches these days as well. Okay, or you could do this, equals XLOOKUP, equals XLOOKUP. Let's look up Betty, for example. We'll just pick the first one here, okay, Betty, comma, in this column, this is just to keep it simple, but I want to return all 3 outputs, enter. And this is the whole dynamic array thing, okay? So if this is no longer Betty and I change it to Alan, okay, this now changes 10, 100, 1,000, these 3. So the ability to spit out multiple columns is beautiful. If you want things in a slightly different order, so you want output 3 and then output 1, rather than just all 3 in a row, it can be done, okay? So here's my XLOOKUP of first name and surname in the first name and surname column. So we've already looked at that sort of scenario. This is the different bit. If you want to pick 2 different columns, you just write choose 1, 2. Okay, if you want to pick 3 columns, you do choose 1, 2, 3. If you want to pick 10, choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so on. And then just the order you then follow it with. So those have to be in curly brackets. Okay. And then it's just a case of going, right, pick the column, comma, pick the column, comma. If you've got 3 columns, you just keep going. So that's how you do a multiple column output. Okay. XLOOKUP also helps you with dependent dropdowns. So let me get rid of these and just show you how this works. So I've got a little heading here, coffee, tea and juice. And I've gone into this cell and said data validation is B7 to D7, which is just those headings. So that's my first dropdown. Okay, so I can just pick from this dropdown list. Then I want this to change based on what I've selected. So if I pick coffee, I want these items. If I pick juice, I want those items. So this is my first option. Okay, and I'll just put this in here and get rid of the little tab. So I'm looking up G7, the word coffee, in the headings. Okay, and then all I'm doing, let me just write it. So I XLOOKUP the word coffee in this headings here. And I want to bring back the entire range. So it'll only bring back the column that matches. And that's the clever thing about this. Okay. So if I change this to T, even though I selected the entire range, it's only bringing back the sort of the intersecting column. It's pretty awesome. And that could be it. This could be your secondary dropdown. But it would be nice if it was sorted and there were no zeros. So you can go equals filter. So this is the dynamic array function. Filter this array, I8 hash, comma, where this doesn't equal 0. Okay, so there's it's filtered, and then you could wrap that in a sort as well. There we go, and that's your dependent drop down. So in this box here, I now have apples and oranges, etc. This data validation actually just refers to the cell K8, which is just with a hash on the end. So that's that cell there with the word apple in, because this is a dynamic array. So K8 hash refers to it. And therefore, when I change this to T, which has got more items, this gets bigger and this picks up all those items. Okay, final one for today. The quickest XLOOKUP technique. So we could, okay, write equals XLOOKUP, this cell in this range, and bring me back the color. Okay, enter, and away it goes. And I've got 250,000 rows here. So that took a little while. Okay, you saw, there's a pause after I press enter. It took a little while. And if I go undo, it's having another think. Right, here's a different way. Unfortunately, this doesn't work inside a table. Hopefully in a few years, they'll have it fixed so that arrays can work inside tables. But if I go slightly to the side of the table, XLOOKUP, and rather than clicking on this one cell, I actually highlight all 250,000 rows. Okay, comma. I'm going to look it up here and bring back the color, and then press enter, 3, 2, 1, enter. Okay, pretty much instant, split second pause before it works it out. So that's a much quicker way of writing your XLOOKUPs if you don't have to have them inside a table. So it depends on your scenario, but that would be my tip. Okay, last thing, double XLOOKUP. All right, this technique, I'll leave you to decide, because I think index XMatch is possibly a better approach. Let me show you both. So I've got this table. I want to look up last name and ID A3. So this column and A3. So I just want to bring back the last name Chadwick. So with an index double X match, okay, let me show you. So we go index, we index the entire range. Okay, I call it table double. It's then asking for a row number. So Alt Enter. I want to do an X match, and this is to give me the row. So I'm looking up A3. Let me just $sign that. Okay, in this row, and that's it. Okay, X match, you don't need the comma 0 on the end. That's the beauty of the X match. Okay, exact match by default. Comma, Alt Enter. Then I want the column, so X match. This time look up last name, and I'll put the $4 in there so I can copy the formula across. Okay, look it up in the heading here. Okay, so I'm going to find the second column, enter, close the brackets, Alt Enter, and then a little round bracket on the end just to finish off. And there you go, Chadwick. And then I can copy this formula across here, age 30. And if I change this from age to department, HR, okay? And if I change this to A4, I get Anderson and sales. So double X, so that's index X match, okay? There's the formula, okay? So highlight the range, find the row, find the column using X match. You can do the same thing with a double XLOOKUP. I just think it's easier to pick apart the X match part, but let's show you. So equals XLOOKUP. I want to look up, let's say, the last name here. Okay, in that's to find the last name, and then return the entire range. Okay, enter. Let me just move that little thing out of the way. There we go. See, so that's the column based on the last name. And if I change this to, I don't know, age, it would spit out all the ages. Okay, so there's the last name. But I want the last name for employee ID A4. So then you start this off again. You say XLOOKUP. Okay, I'm going to leave a whole bunch of spaces here to make my formula less cluttered. Right, so XLOOKUP, look up this, comma, in this employee ID column, comma, and then return something from this, the matching record, basically from this column. So you put the round bracket right in the end. So there we go. That's the other way of doing this. Let me just lock in this H5 reference. Okay, and then I can copy this across. And again, if I change this to A5, they both work. So that's the XLOOKUP approach. I think I'm a fan of the index double X match, to be honest, but you can do it with a double XLOOKUP. So I hope you found that useful. Please get in touch. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I have a YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the Excel weekend, and I will catch you later.